Do you wonder what 20 additional dollars will get you when you move from the Piscifun Viper up to the Piscifun Carbon X? Well, I'm going to talk about that in this episode where I'm walking through every reel in the Piscifun line and comparing the less expensive to the next one up. Stay tuned. I encourage everyone to look at the discussion of the Piscifun Viper reel, but in this episode we're going to look at the Piscifun Carbon X and compare it a little bit back to the Viper so you can see what you get for 20 additional dollars. I'm going to do some physical tests on these as well after we go ahead and review some of the design features that makes the difference and justifies the additional cost. First, let's get into a couple things that are the same between these two reels. They both have the long cast spool design, which features the angled top here that allows the line to go off smoother and hopefully let you achieve a longer cast. And if you can get 5 more feet across 100 casts a day, well, you've just looked for fish in another 500 feet of water. The other thing that's consistent, and again, I'm just looking at the 3000 series here, is it's got the 6.2 to 1 gear ratio, which allows for a very fast retrieve. Like the Viper, it also has an anti-corrosion stainless steel shaft, a high quality zinc alloy drive gear, and a sealed drag knob. Although now let's get into the differences. The drag washers on this are oversized for greater capability, and that gives you 33 pounds of drag versus the 22 that you got in the Viper. But now the key difference, the absolute key difference, is the body of this is made out of carbon fiber. And carbon fiber is lighter, and sure enough, this clocks in at 8 ounces versus the 8.6 ounces in the Viper Series 3000. In addition, this is made to a tighter tolerance and is the first reel in their line that is salt rated. So you can take this thing out and abuse it in the inshore marsh, in the ocean, all you want. I'm not going to do a torture test on the drag washers because this video right here did a much better job and proved that the carbon fiber drag washers that Piscifun uses are robust and certainly much better than the cork or felt washers you see on less capable reels.
You can see, guys, you can still perfectly see the carbon pattern here. There's very, very little scarring considering we just beat this drag up more than it will ever be beat up in an entire lifetime of fishing by ripping it the way we did. So normally what you would see is you'd see shiny spots and scarring if it was really bad. As you can see, there's very little of any of that to note.
But right now, let's get into some physical tests to test whether this lays line on, does it have a wobble, and how precise is it in terms of making sure that the line is put on the spool absolutely perfectly. An upgrade of $20 gets you to the Carbon X, and unlike the Viper, it comes with a nice case to hold it in, and just like the Viper, it has a few of these adjustment washers. It also comes with a handle in its own separate little package for you to put on, and it's already set up for left-hand retrieve. Well, let me get it on here and we will do the line and wobble test. Ready to go, and it looks like the braid ready portion of the spool is going to work just fine. As I put tension on, there is absolutely no wobble in the shaft. It's exactly straight. The only wobble is the wobble of the entire reel because of my spooling system. That is perfection. No gap, no gap. It has the X spool as well for long casts. Very smooth as I roll it, and you can see that there is no wobble in that shaft. EVA handle's nice. Let's compare it back to the Viper. So the EVA handle appears similar between the two. Both have the nice bail, except the carbon has the brass roller versus the steel roller over here on the Viper. The angle here on both of them looks to be identical, so we should achieve the same casting distance with both. The drag on both are the same size. However, this drag, of course, is more robust, coming in at 33 pounds versus the 22 over here on the Viper. The drag is smooth. I like the fact that the clicks appear to be a little bit louder than the Viper, which means I'll be able to hear these better when I'm out on the water. And I like being able to count clicks so I know I'm making a fine adjustment. Let's get out and see if there's any difference in casting performance between these two reels. We're out here to do the casting test, and you may ask, why do you do a casting test with reels? Isn't that just for rods? Well, no, there are a couple things I want to know about each of these reels as we do this test. First, does the line come off smoothly? Does it tangle? Is the X-spool long cast design producing a long cast? And then finally, as I reel it in, the tension on the line is going to vary, unlike when I put it on with the spool. So I want to see, does the reel handle that and still lay the line down nice and even on the spool? I've got a 1 ounce lure and I'm using the Piscifun Serpent rod, and that will be consistent across all these. I'll cast 3 times, we'll mark it, and we'll proceed. Time to cast the Carbon X. All right. Well, we've got some interesting results here. Here's the Carbon X. It's got another 7 feet on the Viper, and the Viper had another 4 feet on the Flame. So there must be something about the spool design of the Carbon X that's pushing that lure out a little bit farther. That's pretty amazing. Let's go check out the spool and see if I got a nice level line on the irregular retrieve. Here's the Carbon X after we're all done, and you can see that the line is still perfectly level on this reel. So the fact that there were bumps and slacks and tightness and more slack did not impact the ability of this reel to lay down that line nice and smooth. And of course, that will prevent tangles and other disruptions in the future. So very interesting results out there, though, that whatever is magic about the spool design here, maybe it's because it's a little bit lighter and the same effort will allow me to throw it a little bit farther. On to the next test in the next video, where I'm going to compare the Carbon X against the Captain. And let's go back to the shop and we'll summarize what the deal is with the Carbon X versus the Viper. Well, let's update the spec table so you can see the difference between these two reels. Although the gain in distance was very impressive, there are some other key things that additional $20 buys you. For one, you get a much lighter reel at 8 ounces versus 8.6. And you get the upgrade to a more durable carbon fiber body that also features a much improved drag system. A good deal. That wraps up the Viper versus the Carbon X. In the next video, I'm going to compare the Carbon X to the Captain. Let's see what another $5 buys you.